I, much like a lot of people, enjoy a lot of Disney and Pixar movies. I know nowadays they're an insane giant beast of a corporation that's on track to own everything in the world. But in the early 2000s, things were pretty chill. It was kind of the end of the Disney Renaissance, but the beginning of a budding relationship between Disney and a new little CGI animation studio called Pixar. These guys went ahead and made a bunch of bangers, okay? Toy Story in 1995, Bug's Life in 98, Toy Story 2 just a year later, Monsters, Inc. in 2001, and then in 2003, we get the subject of today's video, a movie that is incredibly special to me. Finding Nemo followed the story of Marlin, a clownfish who, when we meet him, is really excited for his future. He's got a wife, a new home, and a bunch of new babies that are about to hatch. And we get a really great intro that immediately shows off the beautiful underwater animation, but also sets up our main character perfectly. But then this happens. And just like that, this guy's life is ruined. Disney has a few of these insanely good openings. Most people would refer to Up, that beautifully showcased Carl and Ellie's entire lives, and then tragically showed Ellie die, all in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Or some people might shout out WALL-E, which again had some insane animation, similar to Finding Nemo, and world building, and they just set up the story without using any dialogue. But I am a ride or die Nemo defender, okay? No one talks about this intro enough. Marlin's entire family, except Nemo obviously, gets horribly slaughtered. I think he had it a little bit harder than Carl Fredricksen over here. But getting back to the plot, we pick up with Marlin a few years later and meet his one surviving son, Nemo. We see that the tragedy has made Marlin incredibly sheltered, and our first interaction between the father and son is them arguing about whether Nemo is old enough to go to school yet. After some deliberation, Marlin caves and they set out to meet his teacher. This is where we get our first real look at the larger ocean outside of their little sea anemone. And it still blows me away, dude. The bright colors, the way the fish and the plants move, the lighting, it is amazing. And this is where you really stop and ask yourself, this movie came out in 2003? Kind of a big reason I wanted to make this video, because I've never seen another CGI film that has been able to make the under the ocean setting look this realistic. For context, Shark Tale, a movie that looks horrendous nowadays and even pretty bad back then, came out in 2004, a full year after Finding Nemo. And I think something most people don't realize or appreciate about this movie is that these animators really studied the ocean. Like, full on went scuba diving to study how light is refracted underwater, studied the physics of how plants are supposed to move underwater. I think all of these things really make the movie stand out. And again, there is just no other movie that even comes close to looking like Nemo does. Moving on, we meet some of the other kids and dads, and then Nemo is off to school. But Marlin finds out they're headed to the drop-off.
Drop-off?
This shit genuinely scared me as a kid. Just the way they show the vastness of the open ocean is genuinely terrifying. And Marlin's fears are quickly justified because Nemo gets taken by some divers. And this is one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever right here.
be gone. No, no! Nemo!
Dude, the energy is crazy, and when they show Marlin go above the water for the first time, I lose my mind, dude. It looks incredible. Also, there's a little foreshadowing here when a mask with an address on it falls off the boat. That will be important later. At this point, we are off to the races. Things start picking up very fast, but in a good way. I really love the pacing of this movie. We meet Dory. She says she can lead Marlin to the boat. We find out she has short-term memory loss. We meet the sharks in this terrifying scene.
Find my son. Hello.
Then Bruce takes Marlin and Dory to this shipwreck. We get the iconic fish are friends, not food scene. And remember that mask I said that fell off the boat earlier? Well, Marlin just found it, and Dory can read it. But then this happens.
Dory, are you okay? Oh, that's good. Intervention!
You want that mask? Okay.
No, 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 no!
After that, the movie does something again that I really love. We switch to Nemo's perspective. He's been taken by an Australian dentist for some reason and gets plopped in this fish tank, and we meet this whole new group of cool characters, including this bird that will be important later. Again, good, more foreshadowing. I'm not going to go through all of them, but probably the most important is this fish named Gil. I know, pretty creative name. And he's actually from the ocean too, just like Nemo. And has a weak fin, just like Nemo. So for this period, Gil becomes a bit of a surrogate father for Nemo while he's trapped here. And Nemo has kind of reawakened Gil's goal to break out of the fish tank and get all of them to the ocean. And his plan is just this.
What we need you to do is take a pebble inside there and jam the gears. You do that, and this tank's going to get filthier and filthier by the minute. Pretty soon, the dentist will have to clean the tank himself. And when he does, he'll take us out of the tank, put us in individual baggies, then we'll roll ourselves down the counter, out of the window, off the awning, into the bushes, across the street, and into the harbor. It's foolproof.
We also find out the dentist has a niece named Darla. Darla! It's coming in a few days. And that's bad news for Nemo, cause
She's a fish killer.
And now we move back to Marlin and Dory, where after the shark incident, they find themselves caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place. And Dory drops the mask down this massive trench. Where we get another pretty scary scene.
Good feelings gone.
But don't worry, because they trap the creature in the mask and Dory is able to read.
P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
So now that they've gotten a dress, we switch back to Nemo. He gets initiated into the tank crew through a fun initiation scene, and then Gil hatches the plan to bust out of the tank. And that's all that really happens while we're with Nemo here, so back to our A-team again. Marlin and Dory are looking for directions to 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, and they find a somewhat helpful school of tuna that leads them in the right way, to the trench. After a bit of arguing on whether to go through it or over it, Marlin tricks Dory into going over it, which leads them right into a huge jellyfish fields of sorts, and is probably visually my favorite part in the whole movie. Conveniently, almost dying leads them to everyone's favorite turtles and on to the East Australian Current, which should lead them right to Sydney. Back at the dentist, they hatch their plan to clog the filter. Nemo heads into the filtration system, but the plan almost fails and Nemo gets trapped. This is, again, a pretty scary and intense scene. He's able to get out, but it kind of turns everyone off from trying to escape, and we fade back to Marlin and Dory with Nemo's fate unclear. But in good news, Marlin and Dory have made friends with the turtles. Marlin gets some good fatherly advice from Crush, and while they are here, Marlin tells all the baby turtles about the journey he's been on, which leads into this really beautiful and interesting scene of all the creatures in the ocean sharing Marlin's story, and it leading to the bird we met earlier, who goes and tells Nemo and everyone in the tank about what Marlin has been doing to try and get to Sydney. And this motivates Nemo to go back into the filtration unit, break it for good this time, and start the dirtying of the tank so that they can bust out. Meanwhile, Marlin and Dory jump off the East Australian current, but are still a bit lost as it just drops them into a huge empty void, which again scared the crap out of me as a kid. Dory calls down to a little fella.
Big fella. Whale.
Sorry, a big fella rather. A whale even. That supposedly eats them up. They travel in this whale for a while until it seems like they're about to start getting swallowed, and we get this really intense scene between Marlin and Dory.
Oh, everything's gonna be alright!
How do you know? How do you know something bad isn't gonna happen?
I don't!
But luckily, Dory was actually right, and the whale shoots them out of his blowhole right into the harbor where they need to be to get to Nemo. Back in the tank, the gang has successfully made it disgusting, and they're certain this will get them out of the tank. But sadly, in the morning, they realize the dentist has just put in an automatic cleaner. But right outside, Marlin and Dory are here. They get harassed by some birds, but our homeboy the seagull picks them up and brings them right to the dentist. But Marlin thinks Nemo is dead, so he goes to head back home, defeated. But little did he know, all drains lead to the ocean. After a little trip down the sink, Nemo pops up in the harbor where he meets Dory. This scene is really cute because Dory's looking for Marlin, but doesn't realize Nemo is who he is, and it's so funny. And then she has this flashback scene where she remembers everything. And now Nemo and Dory find Marlin, but their journey isn't quite done, as a giant fishnet grabs all of them up. This moment gives Marlin the chance to really trust his son, and it just wraps up his character arc perfectly. So they manage to break out of the net, the fish are saved, and Nemo is officially found. Finding Nemo, to me, is a perfect film, and one of Pixar's best ever. The animation, the perfectly written story and dialogue, the music, the pacing, the characters, everything about it is perfection. And I will die on the hill that people do not give Finding Nemo the credit that it deserves.